I knew the moment I checked my camera feed that my life had officially crossed into some kind of suburban thriller, because there, right in the grainy night vision, was Karen, dressed head to toe in black, crouched at the corner of my fence like a bargain bin secret agent holding wire cutters. And to make it even more absurd, 3 of her kids crouched behind her with goggles and inflatable floaties like she was leading a Navy SEAL raid on my backyard. 10 minutes later, sheriff deputies were escorting her soaked, shivering Furious out of my pool. That should have been the end of it, but trust me, that was only the final chapter of a disaster that started long before. My name's not important, but what you need to know is that I bought a quiet little home with a backyard pool. A pool I maintain, I pay for, I clean, I chlorinate, and I fish leaves out of at 7 a.m. like a responsible adult. And this house, it predates the HOA. I'm not part of it. I've never been part of it. And according to Karen, that makes me both a threat to community values and also the unwilling manager of the community's nicest water feature. Those are not my words. Those are hers. The whole mess started on a morning that was supposed to be peaceful. I'd poured myself a second cup of coffee and was about to enjoy the quiet when I heard laughter, the kind of loud, unapologetic laughter that never means anything good when you're a homeowner. I walked to the window, expecting teenagers or kids on bikes, but no. There was Karen's sunglasses on drink in hand, using my gardening rake to pop open the latch on my side gate like she'd been practicing for weeks. Behind her were 4 of her best friends rolling up like they were checking in for spa day at the Marriott. Towels over their shoulders, wine coolers, a Bluetooth speaker, floaties, and absolutely zero shame. Before I could even process what I was seeing, they marched across my patio, tossed their bags on my furniture, turned on music, and jumped straight into my pool. Karen lifted her drink, looked around like Cleopatra surveying her new empire, and said, "Ladies, welcome to our new community oasis." I stepped outside, still holding my cup of coffee, which by that point had become more of an emotional support beverage than anything else. I tried being polite. I really did. I cleared my throat and said, "What exactly are you all doing here?" Karen didn't even flinch. She didn't look embarrassed, didn't apologize, didn't acknowledge that she had just broken into someone's yard. Instead, she lowered her sunglasses dramatically, like she was rehearsing for her villain monologue, and said, "Relax. We're just cooling off. The community pool is disgusting today." I stared at her. "This isn't a community pool." "I know," she said sweetly. "That's why we're here. The HOA encourages neighborly sharing of amenities. It's good for unity." Then she raised her drink. "Cheers to unity." One of her friends chimed in, "Don't be one of those selfish types. We're all part of the same neighborhood." "No," I said, "I never invited you. You can't just show up." "You don't have to invite us," Karen replied, as if explaining gravity to a toddler. "The community invites us." I tried reasoning. I tried calm logic. I tried every ounce of patience my therapist would have been proud of. But Karen waved it all off like I was being dramatic for caring about my own property. And when I told her I wasn't even in the HOA, she froze for a minute, just long enough for me to realize she had no idea what she was talking about. Then she shrugged and said, "Well, that's silly. Everyone is part of the HOA." Within minutes, the situation turned from irritating to surreal. They blasted their music, splashed water all over my patio, took selfies in my pool, on my floaties in front of my grill. And at one point, one of them even yelled, "This is the nicest pool in the neighborhood," like I should somehow be honored to have my house overrun by a flock of wine-drunk suburban invaders. I realized I needed backup at least mentally, so I called Roger, the actual HOA president. He picked up on the second ring. "Is there any version of reality," I asked, "where my private pool is considered a community amenity?" Roger paused. "Well, technically the HOA encourages—" "Roger, I am not in the HOA." Longer pause. "Right, that's true. But maybe just let them finish their swim today, then we can discuss it at the next HOA meeting." "Roger, I said I don't attend HOA meetings because I'm not in the HOA. That part is tricky." I hung up before I screamed. Karen just smiled at me like she could feel that the HOA wasn't going to do a damn thing. I walked back inside, shut the door gently, and thought, okay, this is war. That night I locked the gate, installed cameras, ordered motion sensors, and put up a no trespassing sign. I thought maybe, just maybe, that would end things. It did not. The next day, Karen marched down my driveway with her backup dancers flanking her like she was leading a crusade. "You locked the gate," she announced. "Yes," I said. "You put up cameras." "Correct. You put up a sign implying we're criminals. When you break in, you are criminals." Karen's jaw moved like a goldfish gasping for air. She jabbed a finger at me and declared, "You are creating hostility in this neighborhood." "I'm creating boundaries." She hated that word, boundaries. "The whole neighborhood thinks you're selfish." "Awesome. Let them form a line." Her flip-flop stomp away was probably supposed to be intimidating, but honestly, it sounded like applause. Later that afternoon, her kids tried climbing over my fence using a stolen plastic stool. I told them to go get their mother. Karen came back furious, waving the stool like Exhibit A in a trial she had already decided she would win. "You scared my children. They scared themselves trying to break into my yard. You're threatening them with surveillance. You're threatening my property with your kids." And just like that, we were screaming about cameras, property lines, and parental decisions while her children stood behind her like tiny, terrified thieves. That night, I upgraded the gate, reinforced it, added brighter lights, and even installed a speaker that barked like a dog when motion was detected. Petty? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. But Karen escalated. She started leaving toys in my yard. She called animal control on my dog, my golden retriever who looks like a loaf of bread. She left fake HOA fines on my windshield written in glitter gel pen. I posted the fines online, and suddenly half the neighborhood came forward with their own Karen stories. She'd accused toddlers of vandalism. She'd tried to regulate lawn gnomes. She'd created noise complaints that didn't exist. That's when I hit my emotional breaking point. For a few days I honestly wondered if I was the problem, if I'd overreacted, if I'd escalated things too fast. I felt tired, angry, drained, and honestly, small. Like maybe I should have just ignored it. Let it go. Maybe Karen would have stopped eventually. But then I saw what she wrote in the neighborhood Facebook group, an entire rant accusing me of locking Joy behind iron bars and harassing women with surveillance. And something in me shifted. I remembered the spray paint she'd used, the stool her kids dragged, the lies, the forged fines, the way she talked to me like I didn't matter. No, I wasn't wrong. She was. So I fought back. Not with yelling, but with facts. I contacted the county, got legal confirmation that my property was explicitly outside HOA control, printed the parcel map, laminated it, and delivered it door to door like the world's pettiest mailman. That made Karen snap. She launched a protest. 8 people folding chairs, homemade lemonade, and a sign reading, "Free the pool," stuck in my lawn. I called the sheriff. 14 minutes later, the whole event was shut down. I thought that was peak crazy, but Karen wasn't done. Not even close. That night, she spray-painted pool prison across my fence while her child filmed her. The cameras caught everything. I filed a formal report. And the next morning, Karen showed up at my door holding a tray of muffins like she thought she could bribe me into deleting evidence. When I refused, she dropped the tray muffins, exploding across the concrete like edible shrapnel. 2 weeks of silence followed, the kind of silence predators make when they're planning something. I should have known better. Because one afternoon my phone buzzed, camera 3 detected motion. I tapped the feed. There she was. Karen dressed in black, hood up, cutting wires. Her kids dragged floaties. She lifted the gate. They crawled under. She slipped in behind them. And then, because reality had apparently given up, she stepped into my pool, adjusted her hair, and said, "See, he can't stop us." I didn't run outside. I didn't yell. I didn't even blink. I called the sheriff and said, "The trespasser is back. Bring handcuffs this time." The deputies arrived quietly and walked straight into the backyard like they were entering a crime scene. Karen panicked instantly, splashing, screeching, insisting she had community access rights. I walked in behind them holding my tablet. "You said my cameras weren't working," I told her. I hit play. There she was cutting wires, whisper-yelling orders, crawling under the gate. One deputy sighed, "Ma'am, this is literally you committing a crime." Karen tried every excuse. Symbolic protest. Community unity. Teaching her kids resilience. The officers didn't buy it. They issued citations for trespass and malicious mischief and escorted her drenched, defeated, dripping out of my yard. 1 week later, a for sale sign appeared in her yard. She made one final attempt at rewriting the narrative, marching to my driveway to announce, "You pushed me out." I said, "Karen, you vandalized my fence, trespassed repeatedly, weaponized. The HOA used your kids as decoys, forged fines, spray-painted my property, and tried to annex my pool. You pushed yourself out." She stared at me, eyes glassy with the realization that for the first time she couldn't spin her way out of this. She left without another word. And that was it. No celebration, no dance party. Just the empty house across the street and the quiet knowledge that the storm had finally burned itself out. But if there's anything I learned from all of this, it's simple. If you don't protect your boundaries, someone like Karen will happily claim them for you.